The sun had barely risen when Thomas Miller, a humble farmer known for his kindness and quiet strength, stepped off the dusty old pickup truck in front of the luxurious Grand Oak Hotel. His daughter, Elena, walked beside him. She was a young woman of simple beauty, dark skin glowing softly under the morning light, and eyes that carried both innocence and determination. They had traveled far, miles of countryside, dirt roads, and hours of silence filled only with the sound of the engine. It was a rare trip for the two of them, and father and daughter felt both excited and slightly out of place. Thomas wore his best shirt, still worn at the sleeves, and boots marked by years of hard work in the fields. Elena wore a simple dress, her curly hair tied back, her smile gentle but unsure. Neither of them had ever stepped into a hotel as elegant as this one. As they entered the lobby, the polished marble floors shone like mirrors, the golden chandeliers sparkled, and the scent of expensive perfume floated in the air. Behind the counter stood the hotel owner, Mr. Harrison, and two employees dressed in immaculate uniforms. The moment Thomas and Elena approached the front desk, the atmosphere shifted. Mr. Harrison scanned them from head to toe with a look of pure disdain. "Can I help you?" he asked, emphasizing every word with irritation, as if speaking to people unworthy of being there. Thomas smiled politely. "Yes, sir. My daughter and I would like a room for a few nights." One of the employees chuckled under his breath. Another whispered loud enough for Elena to hear, "They must be lost. This is not a farm lodge." Mr. Harrison raised an eyebrow. "And do you even have enough money for a room here?" he asked, sarcastically. "This hotel is refined." Elena lowered her eyes, hurt. Thomas felt his heart tighten, but he did not lose his calm. "We can pay," he answered softly. But the ridicule continued. "Sir," Mr. Harrison said, smirking, "perhaps you should try something more suitable for your kind. Maybe a cheap motel down the road. We serve real guests here." The employees laughed openly now. Elena's eyes filled with tears, not because of shame, but because of the cruelty in their voices. Thomas squeezed her hand gently. "It's all right, my dear," he whispered. "People only see what their heart allows them to see." But just as they turned to leave, a man in a suit rushed into the lobby carrying documents. "Mr. Miller," the man exclaimed. "Good morning, sir. I have all the finalized contracts for the purchase of the hotel. The board is ready to meet with you." Silence. The mocking employees froze. Mr. Harrison's face drained of all color. Thomas turned slowly, his calm gaze now sharp as steel. "Contracts?" Mr. Harrison stuttered. "Purchase? What does this mean?" The man handed Thomas a folder. "Yes, sir. Everything is ready. Once you sign, the Grand Oak Hotel is officially yours." Elena lifted her head, eyes wide. The employees exchanged terrified glances. Thomas stepped forward, his voice firm yet gentle. "You judged us by our clothes, our skin, our simplicity, but not once did you consider our worth." He looked directly into Mr. Harrison's trembling eyes. "A man's value doesn't come from wealth, appearance, or the place he was born. It comes from character." He placed the contract on the counter. "And before I sign this, I want to say something." The entire lobby went silent. "My daughter and I came here in humility and respect. You welcomed us with cruelty. And now, the hotel you used to humiliate people will belong to those you despised." Elena stepped beside her father, her voice soft but strong. "Maybe now this place can become somewhere people are treated with kindness, no matter who they are." Mr. Harrison bowed his head, ashamed. The employees stood frozen, unable to speak. Thomas signed the papers. The pen clicked. The ownership changed hands. A humble farmer and his daughter, once humiliated, now stood as the rightful owners of the very place where they were disrespected. A moment of silence filled the air, not of tension, but of revelation, because that day, everyone in that lobby witnessed a truth. Never underestimate the humble, never judge by appearance, and never forget, dignity belongs to every human being. The lobby of the Grand Oak Hotel remained painfully silent after the brief scene of humiliation, but Thomas Miller and his daughter Elena stood quietly, their dignity intact, despite the disrespect they had just endured. Thomas didn't speak. He didn't argue. He simply remained calm, as he always did, even in moments that would break a weaker spirit. Elena's heart, however, was heavier than she expected. She kept replaying the mocking smiles of the employees, the cold tone of the hotel owner, and the way their eyes scanned her and her father as if they were intruders in a world where they didn't belong. Her hands trembled slightly, but she hid them behind her dress, trying not to show weakness. Her father had taught her since childhood that one's worth was not measured by the judgment of others, but by the truth one carried inside. Yet the sting remained. It lingered in the air like an open wound. Thomas adjusted his hat and looked around the lobby. Everything sparkled. The polished marble floors, the gold-framed paintings, the crystal chandelier that looked as though it had cost more than an entire season's harvest. None of it impressed him. What mattered to Thomas had never been wealth or appearances, but the way people treated one another. "Are you certain you want to stay here, Papa?" Elena whispered softly, afraid that the humiliation might continue. Thomas looked at her with a gentle smile, the kind that always made her feel safe. "My dear," he murmured, "sometimes we walk into places not because they welcome us, but because life wants to teach someone a lesson, or teach us how to stand taller." Elena nodded, though she didn't yet understand his words fully. "Behind the counter," the employees whispered again, thinking the father and daughter couldn't hear them. "Can you believe it?" one muttered. "They look like they came straight from a barn. And they want a room here?" another added, rolling his eyes. "This is ridiculous." Their laughter echoed faintly. Elena lowered her gaze again, but Thomas placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Lift your head, sweetheart," he said softly. "Never hide your dignity. Not for anyone." She inhaled deeply and looked up. Thomas approached the counter again, not with anger, but with a calm firmness that made the employees hesitate. "We would still like a room," he said simply. Mr. Harrison scoffed, as if the very idea offended him. "Sir," he answered with forced politeness, "this establishment is refined. It is not for everyone. Surely you understand that." Elena felt her chest tighten. She opened her mouth to speak, but Thomas gently squeezed her hand, signaling her to remain calm. "Refinement," Thomas said, "begins in the heart, not in the furniture." The employees blinked, unsure of how to respond. Mr. Harrison frowned, obviously irritated that someone he judged as poor would speak with such poise. "Well," the owner said sharply, "refinement also involves money, and I doubt you came prepared for our prices." Thomas didn't react, but something shifted in his eyes. A glimmer, a spark that none of them recognized. But he said nothing. Instead, he simply gazed around the lobby with unusual interest, as if observing every detail, not for admiration, but evaluation. Elena noticed it too. Her father wasn't just looking at the hotel. He was studying it. The hallways, the decor, the structure. It was subtle but unmistakable. Suddenly, it didn't feel like they were guests at all. It felt like they were analyzing something bigger, something important. But the hotel staff failed to see it. Their prejudice blinded them completely. They only saw a humble farmer with worn-out boots and a quiet daughter with dark skin and simple clothes. They didn't see the depth. They didn't see the truth. They didn't see the man behind the appearance. A man whose hands had worked the soil, yes, but whose mind and heart had built something far greater. They had no idea who they were talking to. Thomas remained silent for a long moment, letting the tension fill the room. The employees shifted uncomfortably, confused by his calmness. Mr. Harrison crossed his arms, proud and dismissive. Finally, Thomas inhaled slowly and said, "You know, it's interesting to see how people reveal themselves when they believe someone has nothing to offer them." The employees froze. Mr. Harrison frowned again. Thomas placed his hat on the counter gently, like a man preparing for a moment that mattered deeply. Elena looked at him, confused but trusting, and then, in a quiet voice, a voice so calm that it demanded attention, Thomas finally spoke the truth that would change everything in that lobby. He said, "I didn't come here to stay in this hotel. I came here to buy it." For a long moment, after Thomas Miller spoke those unexpected words, the lobby seemed suspended in time. It was as if the chandeliers stopped sparkling, as if even the air refused to move. Elena felt her breath catch, not because she understood everything yet, but because she sensed that something enormous was unfolding. The employees stared at Thomas with wide eyes, each of them waiting for someone else to speak first. Mr. Harrison blinked several times, unable to process what he had just heard. "By the hotel?" he finally muttered, almost laughing out of disbelief. "You must be joking." Thomas didn't answer. He simply watched the man with calm, steady eyes, the kind of eyes that had weathered storms, droughts, and life's hardest truths without ever breaking. Mr. Harrison straightened his posture, trying to regain control of the situation. "You can't just walk in here and say something like that," he snapped, forcing confidence into his trembling voice. "You have no idea of the cost of a building like this." The employees nodded, relieved that their boss had spoken. One whispered, "He's just bluffing." Another muttered, "People like him can't afford something like this." Elena felt her heart ache again at the words "people like him." She wondered how many times people had dismissed her father, a man of wisdom, strength, and honesty, simply because of his appearance. But she remained silent, watching him with trust and admiration. Meanwhile, Thomas's gaze slowly drifted across the lobby again. The expensive vases, the carved wooden pillars, the golden lamps, the long carpet embroidered with the hotel's emblem. He looked at everything with such attention that the staff became increasingly uncomfortable. There was something almost strategic in the way he observed every corner, not like a guest admiring the surroundings, but like someone assessing something bigger. Mr. Harrison's shoes voice broke the silence again, irritated by Thomas's calm demeanor. "Do you even understand the value of this place? This hotel has been in my family for years. It is a symbol of refinement, of tradition." Thomas's expression didn't change. He simply answered, "I understand more than you think." But his voice carried a weight, a certainty, that none of them expected. Still, Mr. Harrison refused to listen. "You're wasting my time," he said sharply. "I have real clients to attend to." Real clients. The words sliced through Elena's chest like a cold blade. Thomas lowered his gaze for a moment, then lifted it again, and this time his eyes held something different, something powerful, something that made even the employees stop breathing. But he still didn't reveal anything. Instead, he asked quietly, "Tell me, Mr. Harrison, when you look at a person, what do you see?" The question caught everyone off guard. Mr. Harrison frowned. "What do I see? I see what's in front of me. I see clothes, manners, status. That's how business works." Thomas nodded slowly, and then he asked another question, even softer. "And have you ever looked beyond that?" The employees fell silent. Elena felt chills run through her arms. Mr. Harrison scoffed, annoyed by the philosophical direction. "Look, sir, if you want a room, fine. If not, then please step aside." Thomas paused, a deep, meaningful pause. Then he said, "I will step aside, but not because you asked me to. I will step aside because I'm waiting for someone." "Waiting for who?" Mr. Harrison asked impatiently, and before Thomas could answer, the glass doors of the lobby swung open. A man in a dark suit entered hurriedly, holding a large leather briefcase. He looked nervous, almost panicked, as if he feared he was late for something extremely important. His eyes scanned the lobby. Then he spotted Thomas. "Oh, thank God!" the man exclaimed. "Mr. Miller, I've been looking for you everywhere. The board is ready. All the documents are prepared for your final approval." The employees froze. Mr. Harrison's face lost all color. Elena felt her breath stop. The man in the suit continued speaking quickly, unaware of the collapse happening around him. "We have everything you requested. The financial reports, the expansion proposals, the architectural drafts, and of course the final purchase contract. All we need is your signature to finalize the acquisition." Silence. Total, crushing silence. Elena turned to look at her father. He gave her a subtle smile, a smile filled with truths he had carried alone until that very instant. The employees stared at him in horror. Thomas approached the counter, placed both hands on the polished marble, and looked straight into the eyes of the man who had humiliated him. Then, in a calm voice powerful enough to fill the entire lobby, he finally revealed the truth. "I am not here to ask for a room, Mr. Harrison. I am here because I am the man buying your hotel." But just as Sister Elena tried to arrange her trembling thoughts, something happened that completely altered the rhythm of the night. A sudden wind, cold as the breath of emptiness, swept through the convent. It was not a natural wind. It didn't move the curtains, didn't stir the candles, didn't rattle the doors. It felt as if it passed through the walls, not around them, damp like tears, yet sharp like a fresh wound. The nun felt a strange, irresistible pull toward the window. Outside, the night had lost its familiar shape. There were no trees, no distant lamps, no moonlight, nothing but a darkness so absolute that it seemed alive, breathing, watching. It was as if the entire world had been switched off for a moment, leaving behind only silence, a silence so heavy it pressed against her chest like a stone. Then, without warning, the ancient chapel bell rang by itself, 1, 2, 3 times. Each toll echoed not only through the convent, but as though it rippled across time itself. And on the third toll, she heard the voice again. But this time, it wasn't distant. It wasn't whispered. It was present, as if standing right behind her. "My daughter, what you have seen so far is only the beginning." Sister Elena felt her knees weaken. The corridor light, which had been flickering moments before, went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. Everything except a faint golden glow forming in the center of the room, breathing softly, expanding slowly. The air grew thick, saturated with something that felt like both fear and comfort, as if two realms, the visible and the invisible, had overlapped for a brief and sacred moment. Then a silhouette began to emerge from the light, slowly, painfully slowly, as though each detail struggled to cross the veil between the eternal and the earthly. She could not see the face, nor the features, yet she knew the presence. It was not something that needed to be explained. It was something the soul recognizes instantly. The temperature shifted. The air became lighter, yet charged with meaning, so much meaning that even time itself seemed to pause to witness what was unfolding. The figure, still wrapped in the golden radiance, extended a hand, and then something absolutely impossible occurred. The walls of the convent vanished. They did not crumble. They did not open. They simply ceased to exist. In their place appeared a vast expanse, so wide, so silent, so overwhelmingly still that it felt as if creation itself were holding its breath, waiting for the unveiling of something long hidden. Within this sacred, immense emptiness, the voice returned, clearer, stronger, carrying the weight of centuries. "What I am about to show you will change everything. Prepare yourself." The light flared suddenly, like a rising dawn, and Sister Elena, caught between awe and terror, felt that the moment had finally come. The truth behind every sign, every whisper, every vision, the meaning of everything she had witnessed so far, a secret guarded for generations, revealed only to souls ready to carry its weight. But the full revelation, the final truth, would only come at the very end. The golden radiance pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat suspended between worlds. Sister Elena stood within that vast, borderless expanse, neither heaven nor earth, but something in between, a realm where time softened, where sound carried meaning deeper than words, and where silence itself felt alive. Her breath trembled as she took a hesitant step forward. The air shimmered beneath her feet, as if she were walking on the surface of a quiet sea made of light. The figure, still wrapped in that unearthly glow, remained motionless, watching her approach. But it wasn't a human kind of watching. It was as if every layer of her being, her fears, her memories, her hopes, her hidden wounds, was being read with a tenderness that was almost unbearable. Then the voice returned, low and solemn. "Before you see what must be shown, you must understand what was forgotten." Sister Elena felt her heart tighten. Forgotten? By whom? Humanity? The church? The world itself? The figure didn't answer her thoughts, yet somehow responded. "There are truths that were buried not out of malice, but out of mercy. Truths too heavy for those who are not ready to carry them." The golden realm flickered, once, twice, like a lantern caught in the wind. Suddenly, fragments of scenes appeared around her, suspended in the glowing air like memories made visible. She saw cities filled with noise and confusion, crowds walking without looking up, families divided by bitterness, children growing without knowing tenderness, nations trembling with the weight of secrets and shadows. And then she heard the voice again. Humanity has forgotten the simplest of things, the invisible threads that bind heaven to earth. The scene shifted. Now she saw churches emptying little by little, people praying only when fear pressed against their hearts, hands clasping not in gratitude, but in desperation. Sister Elena felt tears sting her eyes, not from sadness alone, but from the piercing truth woven into each vision. And so, the voice continued. Signs were sent, whispers were given, warnings delivered gently, for the world is fragile. As the visions dissolved, the golden realm expanded again into a boundless horizon. But then, something entirely new occurred. A distant rumble echoed through the emptiness. Not thunder, not wind, something deeper, older, a sound that felt like the world itself stirring from sleep. The glowing figure lifted its hand, and a luminous curtain of light unfurled across the horizon like a veil being drawn back. Behind it, Elena saw shadows moving. Tall, slow shapes, indistinguishable yet undeniably real, passing from one side of existence to the other. She felt her pulse race. What are those?" she whispered. The voice answered gently. "Forces that move unseen, guiding all things according to the design written before the beginning." The figures vanished, leaving only an echo of their presence. Then the light dimmed, just slightly, enough to make the air heavier, the silence deeper. "Now," the voice said, "you will receive what only a few souls were strong enough to witness." Sister Elena felt her knees weaken. Her hands trembled. Everything inside her, the fear, the curiosity, the awe, the longing, merged into a single, overwhelming ache. The figure stepped closer. For the first time, she sensed something, like sadness radiating from the light, and something like hope intertwined with it. The truth you seek has the power to restore, or to break. It can awaken faith, or destroy illusions. That is why it must be revealed only at the appointed moment. The golden realm began to pulse violently, as if the very fabric of that sacred space were preparing itself for what was coming. Everything grew brighter. The air thickened with meaning. The silence sharpened into expectancy. Sister Elena closed her eyes, breathless, trembling, knowing that the moment of revelation was finally approaching. The golden light continued to pulse around Sister Elena like a living heartbeat, soft yet commanding. Every breath she took felt like it carried centuries of knowledge and weight she could barely comprehend. Each step she took seemed to echo through a space that had no walls, no floor, no ceiling, only an infinite horizon where past, present, and future overlapped in a fragile balance. She felt as if she were walking between worlds, neither fully human nor fully divine, and every movement seemed both monumental and intimate at the same time. The air shimmered around her like liquid light, reflecting 1,000 hidden truths she couldn't yet understand. The figure in front of her remained motionless, radiating warmth and authority, yet not demanding anything. It was a presence that required no words, yet every silence spoke louder than thunder. Suddenly, subtle images began to appear around Elena, scenes floating in the golden expanse like delicate, luminous paintings. She saw ordinary people, yet extraordinary in their struggles and resilience. A farmer rising before dawn, his hands cracked and stained from years of toil. A child quietly helping a sibling, unnoticed by the world. A family embracing after a long separation, tears mingling with relief, friends sharing a simple meal, yet their laughter filled the air with a kind of sacred joy. And amidst all of these, she sensed a pattern forming, as though all human lives were threads in a tapestry far grander than she had ever imagined. Every act of kindness, every whisper of love or forgiveness, every silent struggle, it all mattered. Everything contributed to something that had existed long before any of them were born. The figure then moved slightly, and the golden light intensified, surrounding Elena like a cocoon. The temperature of the realm shifted, warm yet electrifying, like standing in sunlight while lightning crackled just beyond the horizon. Her heart raced. She could feel a pull toward something immense, a truth hidden behind centuries of silence. The voice spoke again, soft but unwavering. "Elena, every soul must be prepared before they witness what has always been hidden. Some truths can awaken hope, others can shatter illusions. Both carry power." Elena's mind spun. She tried to understand what could possibly hold such weight. What truth could exist that the world had never seen, that had been kept secret for generations, yet now presented itself to her alone. The golden realm trembled subtly. She felt it beneath her feet, as though the ground, or the very fabric of this endless space, were breathing in anticipation. Every heartbeat of the figure mirrored her own. Slow, deliberate, impossibly patient. Then came a sound, not a voice, not a word, a resonance, a vibration that seemed to pierce her entire being, deep into her bones, whispering promises and warnings simultaneously. It was a sound of creation itself, ancient, infinite, alive. Her knees weakened. She sank slightly to the luminous ground. She wanted to run, to cry, to flee from the enormity of what she felt building, but her soul would not allow it. She was being drawn toward the center of the light, toward the truth she had been chosen to witness. The floating visions intensified. Scenes of ordinary people continued to weave in and out, but now they began to overlap with another layer, a layer she recognized, instinctively, but could not yet name. Faces of rulers and leaders, their decisions echoing through centuries, families torn apart by greed and pride, slowly healing in unseen ways, acts of courage, forgiveness, and sacrifice that changed the course of lives without anyone noticing. The voice returned, stronger, more certain. This is the weight of what has been unseen. Every action, every choice, every hidden moment contributes to the unfolding of destiny. And now, the moment you have been drawn here for is near. The golden light expanded, blindingly brilliant. She could feel the air around her trembling, as if the universe itself were holding its breath. Elena's pulse matched the rhythm of the light, her mind teetering between fear and awe. She sensed that everything she had known, her life, her father, her struggles, the moments of humiliation, and the moments of quiet hope, had led to this single, unrelenting point in time. She swallowed hard, unable to speak. Her hands shook. The figure extended a hand toward her, and the light surged around her body like liquid fire and liquid warmth combined, wrapping her in a cocoon of expectation and divine calm. The voice whispered, soft, intimate, but absolute. Prepare yourself. What you are about to see will change everything you thought you knew about life, about justice, about humility, and about the power that lies in those who are underestimated. Elena felt her chest tighten. The entire world, every person she had ever known, every injustice, every triumph, seemed compressed into a single, shimmering moment of possibility. The figure moved closer. The light became almost unbearable, yet mesmerizing. Every ounce of fear and anticipation pulsed in rhythm with her heart. She knew with absolute certainty that the final revelation was moments away. And then, the figure spoke, softly, finally. The truth, hidden until now, is that the one you have underestimated, the one you thought humble and simple, is the master of what you see. The one who walks with dignity through scorn and judgment, holds the power to reshape everything you believe. Elena's eyes widened. Her mind raced. Her heart pounded. The tension, the suspense, the years of unseen struggles, the unspoken strength of the one she had always respected, all of it was about to unfold. But the final truth, the full earth-shattering revelation, would only be revealed at the very last moment. The golden light had become almost unbearable. It filled the space around Sister Elena like a living ocean, ebbing and flowing with a power that seemed older than time itself. Each pulse resonated through her body, through her very soul, until it was impossible to distinguish her own heartbeat from the rhythm of the light. She felt herself floating, yet firmly anchored, as if the universe itself were holding her in a balance between awe and terror. The figure in the center of the radiant expanse had grown larger, not in size, but in presence, an overwhelming force that conveyed authority, patience, and the weight of knowledge centuries old. The air around her shimmered with unseen energy. Every sound she had ever known, the rustle of leaves, the distant laughter of children, the murmur of prayers whispered in secret, echoed faintly through the light. She felt every act of kindness, every injustice, every hidden moment of courage she had witnessed in her life, condensed into a single pulse of meaning. And then she heard it, a faint whisper, almost imperceptible, yet penetrating every corner of her mind. Do you understand now why you were brought here? Elena's lips trembled. She wanted to speak, to answer, to say, I'm ready. Yet no words came. Her soul seemed to know the weight of what was coming, the enormity of what was about to be revealed. The figure extended a hand, and with it, the golden light stretched outward, forming a corridor of brilliance that extended infinitely in both directions. Scenes began to materialize within. The light, visions of people she had never met, yet felt deeply connected to. Strangers in the streets, leaders making quiet choices that changed the lives of millions, children learning to forgive before they even understood the meaning of the word, families reconciling after years of separation. And then came the echoes of humiliation and injustice. She saw faces of those who had doubted, scorned, or belittled others, the very same arrogance and pride that so often obscured the truth from those who deserved to see it. She felt their fear, their shame, their disbelief, and somehow she understood that all of it was a necessary part of the unfolding tapestry. The figure spoke again. The world judges what it sees, yet the unseen has always carried the true weight of destiny. Those who are underestimated are the ones who shape the future. The light pulsed faster. The corridor of vision seemed to converge around her. Elena felt herself being pulled toward the center, where everything, every shadow, every hope, every truth, was coming together in a single point. The golden figure grew brighter, almost too bright to look upon, and the energy around her surged like a storm contained within a single breath. "You have been chosen to witness this," the voice whispered, "not because you are ready, but because you must be. The final truth cannot be delayed any longer." Elena's mind raced, her heart pounded. Every moment of hesitation, every moment of doubt, every fleeting thought of fear collided with a strange clarity she had never known. She felt both the fragility and the power of life itself, suspended in the golden expanse. She felt every injustice she had ever endured or observed, every act of courage unnoticed by the world, all converging into a single, silent revelation. The figure moved closer. The light became almost unbearable, yet Elena could feel an undeniable warmth emanating from it. It wrapped around her, filling her with a sense of calm she had never known, a calm that was both terrifying and comforting. Then came the final test. A vision of the hotel appeared, the Grand Oak Hotel, grander than she had ever imagined in her mind's eye. She saw the employees, the owner, and countless others who had doubted, sneering, and judging, frozen in the moment of realization, yet unaware of the truth that loomed over them. Every insult, every slight, every act of arrogance hung in the air, waiting for the unveiling. Elena's pulse matched the rhythm of the light. She felt as if she were standing at the edge of eternity itself, holding her breath, waiting for the truth that would reshape everything she thought she knew about justice, humility, and strength. The figure's hand extended, a single beam of light connecting it to the hotel vision, and Elena felt a presence so immense it pressed against her very soul. A voice, gentle, inevitable, unstoppable, resonated in her mind and heart. "Now you will see. All will be revealed. The one you thought weak, the one you underestimated, the one who endured humiliation, holds the power to change everything. The time has come for the truth to emerge." Elena's eyes widened. The golden light pulsed violently around her, brighter than the sun, warmer than the heart of creation. The suspended moments of history, courage, kindness, and injustice all seemed to converge at a single point. She felt the weight of centuries, the depth of unseen strength, the hidden power of the underestimated. And then, finally, the voice spoke the truth so clearly, so completely, that it resonated through every fiber of her being. The one who endured, who walked with dignity through scorn and judgment, the humble farmer and his daughter, are the rightful owners of the very place that mocked them. All who doubted, all who ridiculed, now witness their power, their wisdom, and their victory. The Grand Oak Hotel belongs to them, and their strength has reshaped the world around them. The truth has been revealed at last. The light erupted in a blinding, glorious explosion of brilliance, filling every corner of existence with warmth, clarity, and undeniable justice. Every shadow of doubt evaporated, every whispered insult turned into silence, and in that moment Sister Elena understood the full weight of what she had witnessed. The underestimated, the humble, the kind, were always the ones who held the greatest power.